Hey friends, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing my most anticipated releases of 2024. If you did not see, I think it's going to be the last video that I posted. I shared 16 of my 5-star predictions. All of those books are most anticipated books. Obviously, I think they're going to be 5 stars, but this list is wholly separate. In years past, I've kind of overlapped them a little bit, but it just makes for a less interesting video and less interesting content if half of the books on this list are also on there. And so this year there is absolutely zero crossover. So if you want an additional 16 books that are releasing in 2024, you can go check out that other video. In this video, we're going to talk about 30 books. I am going to keep all of these very short since we do have so many books to talk about. I will also link all of the books down in the description box if you want to go learn more about any of them. So these are in no particular order. The only order that they're in are the last 4 don't have covers. The first book is The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton. I put this one on the list because India Holton wrote the Wisteria Society series that I absolutely loved, and this is going to be her next historical romance series. This one says that rival ornithologists hunt through England for a rare magical bird in this historical fantasy rom-com reminiscent of Indiana Jones with manners, tea, and helicopter parasols. I think that this is going to be a very similar feel to her other series. I don't know how many books this is going to be, but as of right now, there are 2 books listed on Goodreads. Next is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. This is an author that I have not read from before, but I do know everybody loves. This is book 1 in the saga of the Unfated. We're following a shield maiden blessed by the gods who battles to unite a nation under a power-hungry king, while also fighting her growing desire for his fiery son. Norse-inspired fantasy romance. I think the cover of this is hideous, but we're gonna check it out anyways. Then we have Archangel's Lineage by Nalini Singh, which is book, 9016 in the Guild Hunter series. Don't know what I can say about this one that isn't spoilery, but I do believe that this is following like the main couple, Elena and Raphael, after the craziness of book 14. And I'm excited to get back to like our main group. I don't know how many more books in the series we're gonna get, so I'm excited to see if this like wraps things up further or if we get a new plot. Either way, I'm excited. I love the series. Then we have A Grave Robbery by Deanna Rayborn, which is book 9 in the Veronica Speedwell series. This is a historical Victorian London mystery series with a little bit of romance in it. We're following these 2 amateur detectives, one of them semi-begrudgingly detective. I don't know what the murder in this one is, but each one of the books has a whole like standalone murder mystery plot, and then the overarching plot across the series is the identity of Veronica Speedwell as well as the romance. Then we have A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft, which is the first adult book by this author. I have read one of Alison Saft's YA books. This one says a sharp-tongued folklorist must pair up with her academic rival to solve their mentor's murder in a lush, enthralling sapphic fantasy romance. All I needed to know was murder mystery fantasy romance sapphic. Next, we have Wake Me Most Wickedly by Felicia Grossman, which is the sequel to Marry Me by Midnight. I believe that this one is a Snow White retelling. I believe all of the books in the series are going to be fairy tale retellings, and this one says that it's a handsome businessman who must decide who to trust with his heart. I know nothing else about it, but this does take place in Victorian London, and this does follow Jewish characters, and I really enjoyed book 1, so I'm excited for book 2. Then we have Out of Office by A.H. Cunningham, which is A.H. Cunningham's first trade book. I'm so excited. This is a vacation romance, and I think we're following these 2 main characters who meet while they are on vacation and are trying to find a way to make their romance work beyond that because they are both kind of married to their jobs. I love A.H. Cunningham books, so I'm excited to see what she does with a trade book. Then we have Here We Go Again by Alison Cochrane, which is the author of Kiss Her Once for Me as well as The Charm Offensive. This one is another sapphic romance. We're following these 2 ex-best friends who end up having to take a road trip together because their like college mentor is dying and his final like wish is to like go on this cross-country trip, and they agree to take him, and I assume they have a second chance romance. I love Alison Cochrane's books. I think it's going to be great. Next is The Kiss Countdown by Etta Easton. We're following a risk-adverse event planner and an astronaut. That's all I need to know. All I heard was astronaut, and you can count me in. I always get this cover mixed up with the next book, which is The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest. The pink cover with the couple leaning. Anyone else? The Partner Plot is high school sweethearts get a second chance at love, marriage of convenience. I have no idea if this is set in the same world as The Neighbor Favor, but I loved that book, so I definitely am excited for her next book, The Blonde Dies First by Joelle Wellington, which is a YA horror. This author's debut book, Their Vicious Games, was one of my favorite books of last year. And this one is following this group of high school friends who are trying to save themselves from a demonic force that acts according to horror movie rules. It says it's in the spirit of the Scream movies. You know what? I'm here for it. I really liked how this author integrated real-world discussions into her horror elements. Everything about this sounds fantastic. I'm sure it's going to be just as great as the last one. Then we have Feybound by Sarah El-Arifi, and this is a Fey romance. We're following two sisters. They get exiled out of their elvish land, and they end up in the land of the Fey, which they didn't think existed, and sapphic romances ensue. Then we have Murder Road by Simone St. James, which is the next paranormal thriller from this author. We're following a couple who saves a woman who dies on this creepy murder road. People keep dying on this road, and this couple is trying to figure out, who's causing it, because they are now believed to be the murderers, but it's a paranormal story. We have The Game Changer by Lana Ferguson, who wrote The Nanny and The Fake Mate. I gave The Fake Mate 5 stars. This is a hockey romance, and the hero goes through a really public breakup. It's a PR nightmare, and ends up, I think, fake dating one of his teammates' younger sisters, who's a baker. I honestly added that one because of the author, not because of the hockey romance or plot. Truly, Madly, Deeply by Alexandra Bellafleur is a bi romance, MF bi romance. We're following a romance novelist who is in a writing rut, doesn't really believe in love anymore, and a divorce lawyer who end up having to team up for a podcast to give advice on love, I believe. I've absolutely adored everything that this author has written, and I'm excited for more. Next is Only and Forever by Chloe Leese, which is the final book in the Bergman Brothers series. This is following Vigo, who is a bleeding heart romantic, and he is finally getting his romance with a romance cynic. I'm sure it's going to be great. This cover is stunning. Every single book in the series is absolutely wonderful. Another sequel, we have Bespelled by Laura Thalassa, which is the sequel to Bewitched. We're following a witch coven. Our heroine loses her memories, and there is a god that she accidentally awoke who says she is his wife. It's wild, it's a good time, fantasy romance. Another fantasy romance is a debut, and that is Lore of the Wild by Annalise Brana. And this one is a fae fantasy romance. I don't know if it's a love triangle or polyamorous or what, but our heroine is trying to navigate the fae world with the help of two fae males. They're trying to uncover some secrets, and she wants fae power, as they always do. Another fantasy, apparently I have a lot of fantasy on this one, I am in my fantasy era, is A Promise of Peridot by Kate Golden. Is it Peridot? It's a color, it's a gem. I don't know if that's right, but this is the sequel to A Dawn of Onyx, which I read for a vlog, I think, last year. And this is a very classic feeling fantasy. Heroine believes that the bad king is evil, meets said king, king's not that evil, the good guys are actually bad dragons. Also fae. It's a good time. If you want more about book one, I will link that vlog up in the cards and down below. And then the last fantasy for a minute is Bride by Ellie Hazelwood, which is a non-STEM romance from this author. In fact, it's an Omegaverse romance. We're following a vampire bride and an alpha werewolf. Paranormal. I have no idea what to expect from this. I feel like it's either going to be fantastic or a complete and hot train wreck, so we shall find out together. Next is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, which is an author I jump in and out of because her books tend to be very intense and hard-hitting, and I do have to take her content warnings very seriously, and so I didn't read her last book, but I'm excited for this one, and this one sounds like it's going to be both funny and sad. Essentially, we're following these two people who find each other on Reddit because they believe that everyone they date finds their true love, and they decide to date each other so that they can find their true love, and I assume fall in love instead. Then we have The Truth According to Ember, which is an indigenous romance. We're following a Chickasaw woman who ends up lying on an application not only about her qualifications, but about being white. And when she lands like this really amazing job, she thinks she's got it made, and she ends up forming this romance with an indigenous coworker, but their company has a very strict no fraternizing rule. So we have a workplace forbidden romance. Love that. Then we have the next Riley Sager, Middle of the Night. I read every single Riley Sager. I think there's only been like one that I haven't read, and that was the one that everyone hated. I don't know, the car one. A man must contend with the long ago disappearance of his childhood best friend and the dark secrets lurking beyond the safe confines of his picture-perfect neighborhood. Is this going to be the first Riley Sager with a male lead? Gasp. Then we have The X-Vows by Jessica Joyce. This is another new to me author, but the synopsis of this one just sounds so good. It says, estranged exes must stick close together to save their best friend's wedding after a string of disasters. And of course, they fall in love amongst all of the romantic settings. A debut author, we have One Star Romance by Laura Hankin. This one is following these two main characters who are like standing up in the wedding. She's the maid of honor, he's the best man. She is a writer, and he gave her book a 1-star review, and they keep meeting over and over and over again because they have mutual friends, and along the way they form a romance. It sounds cute. It sounds like it's going to be like a very long time period covering, so I'm excited for that one. And then the last book that has a cover is Maya's Laws of Love by Lena Kawaja, and this one is following a heroine who believes that she's cursed in love, and so she agrees to an arranged marriage. On her way to said arranged marriage in Pakistan, she ends up meeting the guy of her dreams. This reminds me of that like Sandra Bullock movie, Forces of Nature, where they like meet on the way to a wedding or whatever. Hopefully it's better than that movie because that movie wasn't very good, but the synopsis reminds me of that. The last four do not have covers. The first is A Father Material by Alexis Hall, which supposedly is coming out in October. It's the third book in the London Calling series. The first book was Boyfriend Material, Husband Material. Now we're at Father Material. I'm excited to see what this one's going to be about. Then we have Sword Crossed by Freya Marsk, which also says that it's supposed to come out in October, and we are following the heir to a struggling family business who is entering an arranged marriage and needs an experienced swordsman to be his maid of honor. There's some sort of sword fight at the wedding, but he can't afford a swordsman. And so he hires a con artist instead. And the two of them obviously fall in love. It sounds hilarious. I love Freya Marsk. It's going to be good. Second to last, we have The Shortlist by Elena Armas, which is Long Game number 2. This has absolutely no synopsis yet. Supposedly it comes out in July. But I absolutely loved the first book in that series, The Long Game. So hopefully I love this one just as much. And then the final book on this list is The Shadowlands Omega by Elizabeth Stevens. I just read Dark City Omega, which was book 1. This one's going to be book 2. We're following one of the berserkers that we met in that first book, and he's getting his romance. I can't wait. I don't want to tell you any more about it because it is a sequel, but a very unique Omegaverse fantasy series. I have the vlog coming where I talk about the first book, so that will be coming, I believe, next week, maybe? Something like that. So that is all 30 books. You got these very rapid fire, but again, I didn't want to spend too much time on any one book and have this video be insanely long. So again, all of the books will be linked down in the description box. There will also be a like graphic of these books over on my Instagram. And then at the end of the year, we can look back on this list as well as my 5-star predictions and see how many I read and how well I liked them and all of that. Let me know what some of your most anticipated books are for 2024. Let me know if any of these are on your list or if you've added any of these to your list. I do have an entire Goodreads shelf where I am saving 2024 releases, so that will also be down in the description box. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye.